It's Ocean Drive in Coney Island.
Ocean Drive is the only luxury rentals in New York with a spectacular ocean view. You wake up in the morning and breathe that ocean air. I'll certify that you're going to live 10 years longer. When I became successful, I wanted to live on the ocean. If you have worked hard, you deserve an apartment on Ocean Drive too. Go to oceandrivenyc.com and reward yourself.
If you're a policeman, fireman, doctor, nurse, or teacher, you qualify for a limited time offer at oceandrivenyc.com. Terms and conditions apply.
In the squadron, they called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, something's happening in Gaza right now. Bombs going off all over the place. Looking at it right now, I don't think this is the big ground invasion everyone's anticipating. This is prepping the battlefield, right? You do this, you hit them, you keep hitting them, and then you go in with the troops. And sometimes that can take a long time. That can take a week, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months. Just take all the time you need, all right? Take all the time you need. I hope Bibi Netanyahu, who's a tough, savvy guy, and he's kind of a New Yorker, too. You know, he spent a lot of time here. He actually he didn't go to high school in New Jersey, but he lived with a family in New Jersey. He went to high school, I think, in Pennsylvania somewhere near Philadelphia. But he spent a lot of time in New York. I feel like he's one of us. He's a real regular guy, but he's tough as hell. And there's all kinds of domestic tumult that he's got to deal with, and people are pointing fingers at him. But I just hope he does this the right way, and that is as a time and place of Bibi's choosing. Right, this is up to him. Don't be pressured into it. You're going to do the right thing ultimately, but you got to do it when all the pieces are in place. There's a time and a place to hit back right away. Then there's a time and a place to do it to your maximum advantage, and I think that's what he's doing. I think back to the 1993 raid on the Branch Davidians. Anybody remember this? David Koresh. David Koresh was this crazy cult leader, and he had all these people around him in Waco, Texas, outside of Waco, Texas, and they had this camp, the Branch Davidians, they called themselves. I don't know what the hell they stood for, what they were all about, but it was weird. And whatever, you can be weird in America if you want to be, but he had a lot of guns. And the ATF was suspicious about this guy out there in a compound with all these people and all the guns. So one day they showed up to get the guns, and he said, you're not coming in. And I think there was a shootout, and then there was a standoff that lasted for about like a month or so. It was like a real long time. And this is early in the Clinton administration. And everybody was like, oh, what's with the Clintons? I mean, why? Look at this. He's not tough. He's indecisive. He's just waiting. Come on, you got to do something. Well, maybe. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. You wait. Just try to block out all the noise and do the right thing. I don't think they blocked out all the noise, and they jumped the gun, and they went in like at lunchtime with a tank. And just the place burned to the ground, lots of lives lost. It didn't have to be that way. And that's what I want the Israelis to do. All right, just don't go in because somebody says you got to go in now or yesterday, or the Likud party's upset, or the Labor Party, however it works over there. Just go in when you're ready, okay? And a lot of warfare isn't just bang, bang, blast them, shoot them. It's moving logistics, moving supplies, getting everything in place. It's a little bit complex behind the scenes, and I think they're getting that all in place. And ultimately, Hamas will be eradicated as it should be. I mean, my God. And I can't stand the media coverage of this, as if this has just the people of Gaza, were randomly selected for abuse and suffering. The terrorists brought this on. The terrorists did this. The terrorists did it to Afghanistan, remember? They hit us on 9/11. We could not make the women and children foremost on our mind when we were retaliating. Yes, we factored that in. We want to minimize that, but it's going to happen in war. It's going to happen in this war. It happens in every war where good people are killed. That's one of the reasons why you don't want to go to war unless it's absolutely necessary. Hamas, you guys started this thing. They took women and children. Hey, I'm looking at the USS Eisenhower right now. USS Eisenhower is an aircraft carrier in the Persian Gulf, and I think it's so damn cool that I got to land on that thing. I did. I landed on the aircraft carrier, the Eisenhower. Also the America, also the Peleliu, also the Tarawa, also the Bonhomme Richard, a whole bunch of them. You know that old slogan, be all you can be in the Army, Reserve, or whatever? It's true. And we do more things before 6 o'clock than most people do all day. It was true. You really get to do a lot of cool stuff. I don't know about what it's like anymore. It's woke and it's weird. It used to be you were cut off from society in a good way. You could focus on the job. You could focus on the profession of arms and whatever was happening back in the cities and towns. Well, whatever. You were something else. You were removed from it all. Now with the cell phone, they can inhale what's happening all over the place. There's almost such a thing as too much connectivity. And it started when I was in. I mean, emailing your fiance, your wife. Like every day you're getting emails. I mean, it sounds nice, but in the old days you went off to war, and maybe you will see you in a year. Hopefully you come back. You write letters and that kind of thing, but there was just too much connectivity. That's even more stressful. I think it's more stressful to be, overseas fighting a war and knowing every little thing that's going on in your house. Your son has a fever, your daughter, flunked a quiz, all that stuff. You need to it's got to be tougher now than ever before. And then you throw the woke stuff in, then it's a real problem. I am reminded how much Trump did for Israel. Trump, no greater friend than Trump, for Israel. And moving that embassy to Jerusalem, everybody talked a good game about that. He's the only one who did it. He just did it. And he didn't listen to those State Department geeks who all they do is write position papers and briefing books and read them and debate them and read them and debate them and then go to this symposium and that conference and then come back and then write a debrief. And it's just endless paperwork, bureaucracy, not doing anything and not getting into trouble. That's the number one objective of anybody in government. Do not get in trouble. Do not do anything that's going to rock the boat. Just keep growing this place. More money, more budget, more stuff, more personnel. Just keep on growing and growing and growing. But be discreet about it. Be discreet about it. All right, let's see here. I am so sick of Chris Christie all over the place. I see him everywhere now. He's getting way too much media attention, way too much. And he's got one thing to say. He hates Trump. It's really, and no one ever presses this guy. Let's get Governor Christie on the phone. Let's find out where the hell he is, all right? Probably at lunch right around now. I know that goes overtime for him. But I really do want to talk to him about the pure hatred and hypocrisy that he exhibits every time he opens his mouth on any of these shows, and no one challenges him because he's doing what they want done. Another suicide mission on Trump. And like the kamikazes, sooner or later, they think one of these guys will sink the ship. But I find him particularly offensive. That man right there. And one of the reasons why he's so bitter is because he could have run for president himself in 2012, and he didn't because he's a wuss. He chickened out. He had a chance in 2012. He might have been able to beat Obama. Romney wasn't. Romney. There's a new book about Romney. Romney is such a narcissist. He sits down with some guy who writes a book about him for about 3 weeks. They work together. Now the book is out, and you can read it, and you can tell, he's a loser. He is a loser. He just didn't have it. And in 2012, that was a winnable race, and he blew it, in part because he was too concerned about, his image. How does this look for me? Forget you for a second. How about the country? Just go for it. He wouldn't break a sweat. You can do a lot of things. You can really get a lot of things done if you're not worried about how you look all the time. And most politicians are worried about how they look. Donald Trump is not worried about that stuff. Just not worried about it. That's why we love him. We can tell a guy who's got one eye on the mirror, and, what is the New York Times? What are they going to say about me? What are they going to write about me? Oh, no. People live in fear. You say one nasty thing about them, they're in the fetal position, in the closet for 2 weeks. They need the approval of the swamp. They need the approval of the mainstream. Even some people need the approval of the conservative media. I've seen Trump run afoul of conservative media a lot, and he doesn't care. And it's just so refreshing. Hey, the new Speaker of the House, his name is Johnson, right? Great guy. Really like him. He had the audacity to tell Sean Hannity last night that he has a biblical worldview. He has a Judeo-Christian values, and that's somehow a problem. Why is that a problem? I mean, they don't understand. Like, that is a radical thing to say. You talk about the Bible these days. Ooh, you're going to make somebody uncomfortable. You really shouldn't be talking about that. Why don't you talk about kids undergoing gender therapy? That is actually, you're on more solid ground talking about transgender rights than you are talking about the Old Testament and the New Testament. I mean, talk about a society that is totally out of control, warped, stupid, crazy, and going downhill fast, right? You can't talk about the Bible, but you can talk about this gender crap all the time. Come out as this, that, and the other thing. Talk about sexuality all day long. But the ultimate hope that is available to each and every one of us, that is available in that book. You know, we still go through the motions, though, don't we? Right? We go through the motions. They bring a Bible for when you're sworn in, right? You put your left hand on the Bible, you raise your right hand, and you take that oath of office. But the moment you start talking about the Bible or quoting Scripture, you are a right-wing evangelical zealot not to be trusted. No, that makes you trustworthy. That's what it's all about. Let me see here. Speaker Mike Johnson, he's a tough cookie. A tough cookie, the right man in the right place. Cut 21, please.
I think it's been a failed presidency, and all the problems, some of those that you've articulated already at the outset of the program here, were caused by policy choices. And that's the problem I have with him. It's philosophical.
All right. Let's see if he... give me the next one.
Absolutely. We have a two-tiered system of justice, and that erodes the people's faith in our system of justice itself. And this is what I reminded Merrick Garland when he was in front of us, the Attorney General, Christopher Wray at the FBI. The greatest threat here is not these individual issues. It's that the people are losing their faith in our system of justice. And, Sean, you cannot maintain a constitutional republic, a government of, by, and for the people, if the people doubt that the system is fair. You know, if they believe there's two tiers of justice, then the system doesn't work at all. And so I think Garland's been a great threat. I think he's the worst Attorney General in the history of the United States.
Good for him. Good for him. He's not the most fiery guy, although he's great on cross-examination when he's getting these witnesses up there. He's not going to be doing too much of that stuff, right? Because he's going to be managing the whole damn process. But I think he has an eye on what this means for everybody. A lot of these congressional leaders, they get wrapped up in the process. They get wrapped up in the institution. You know, Mitch McConnell's always talking about the Senate as if it's like, I don't know, Joe Biden does that too. Ooh, the Senate. I'm a Senate man. We don't care about your traditions. We don't care about the gavel. We don't care about those paintings on the wall. We care about getting things done or not done. We care about you guys getting out of our lives. You know, they ripped Jim Jordan. Well, he hasn't passed enough laws. Well, you know what? We don't necessarily need more laws. I think we got, how many laws do we have right now? 7 trillion? 7 trillion different laws. Do we really need, these aren't just, they call them lawmakers. Not necessarily. They're representatives. They want to represent my interests. And right now, I don't want any new laws. All right? I want the laws that we have enforced. You can enforce them regarding guns and certainly enforce them regarding Joe Biden. Hello. Those guys, ooh, dirty deeds. And they were not done dirt cheap. I'll be right back.
At Ameris Bank, we're with you. We asked our team what that means to them.
We're with you means we have a partnership.
It's a relationship. We're here for the long haul.
We have a solution for each and every person that chooses to bank with Ameris.
When you're starting your first checking account, starting your own business, buying a home.
Personally, commercially, corporately, whatever needs you have.
We take great care of our customers.
We're with you.
We're with you.
We're with you.
Learn what it means for you at amerisbank.com/withyou. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, there's a new guy running for president, and good for him. Good for him. I know he's a Democrat. He's a liberal. I don't like him. He hates Trump. But I actually am getting a kick out of this, and I think he's he's not a bad guy. He's not bad in the sense that he's a Democrat and he's running against Joe Biden because Joe Biden is Joe Biden. This guy knows, like, hello, everybody can see that this guy can't be president any longer. We've got to run somebody. And for the past couple of months, he's been trying to get people to run, people more significant, quite frankly, than he is politically. He's a congressman from Minnesota, I think, and he hasn't even been there that long. So, I mean, who the hell is this guy? He's not that significant, but he's doing it. He's going for it, and good for him. Somebody's got to do it. And he's liberal. I would vote against him. But at least, look, everybody can see that Joe Biden is terrible. And the party has such discipline, though. It's like party over country with the Democrats. They're that scared of, I don't know what could happen. They'll primary him. They're going to primary him. They're going to get some other Democrat to run against him in the House of Representatives, right? They're going to smear his family. They're going to do all kinds of opposition research. They probably already have done it. They're going to unleash all that stuff. And they're going to try to destroy him in a million different other ways. If he catches on, then, it's going to get really, really hot. All right. Then they'll be all out. I mean, my gosh, it'll be like, I don't know. They'll try to politically assassinate the guy. But what's his name again? Phillips, Dean Phillips. And, he's a rich dude. He made a fortune in the gelato business. Gelato. And also in the liquor business. Hey, whatever. How much is he worth here? Net worth of $77 million. Wow. What would you do if you had $77 million? That's a lot of cash, huh? Number one, car and driver. Absolutely. Full-time car and driver. And I'd make him wear a hat. Do we have any of this sound? I want to hear this guy. Yeah? Yes? No? Okay. This is Dean Phillips, and he announced it today. Go ahead.
Are you running for president?
I am. I have to. I think President Biden has done a spectacular job for our country, but it's not about the past. This is an election about the future.
All right. He didn't exactly do it at a big rally or anything like that. That was it, the announcement? Again, okay, anybody who thinks Joe Biden's done a good job also has got to screw. I told you, I don't support this guy, but I like that he's doing it. I like that he's trying, all right? If you were a Democrat and you had some ability for the good of the country, and you can be opposed to Donald Trump and his policies, I understand that. That's okay. It's harder and harder to explain because if you really look at Donald Trump's policies, they are just common sense and desperately needed. This guy think we need more trans activism in middle school? I don't know. That's what these people stand for. Let me hear a little bit more from this guy. Dean Phillips. He's 54 years old. He's a congressman in Minnesota, and he's running for president as a Democrat.
Has done a spectacular job for our country, but it's not about the past. This is an election about the future. I will not sit still. I will not be quiet in the face of numbers that are so clearly saying that we're going to be facing an emergency next November.
Okay. He's right. He's right. Oh, somebody dropped out of the race for president. Did you know Larry Elder was running? He's a pretty impressive guy. He's a talk show host, Larry Elder. He's a lawyer, too. I like him a lot. But he was running as a Republican, and he's already endorsed Trump. He didn't make any of the debates. Larry Elder, you see him on Fox and other places a lot. Larry ain't doing it anymore. No big deal. Happy Friday. Does it make any difference? Happy Friday. It's strangely mild outside in the most peculiar way.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, that guy, the 40-year-old mass shooter up there, his name is Card, has not been found. There's a good chance he committed suicide. We're not sure about that. He's been in the Army for 20 years. Army superiors knew he was a bit crazy. They tried to have him committed. He was committed for a short period of time. What else about this guy? You know, my bottom line on this thing is more people with guns could have prevented this. And, yeah, I know. Somebody called yesterday and said, well, what if you miss or what if you shoot somebody by accident? You know, I'd rather be sued than dead. All right. More guns and start listening to the NRA, not demonizing the NRA. OK, Jeff in Manhattan. Hello.
Hey, Greg, I might not get too much airtime, but I listen to a lot of the hosts.
Well, what do you mean by that, Jeff? What do you mean you may not get too much airtime? Number one, you're just a caller. You don't get too much airtime by definition. I mean, I take it you're going to say something you think is controversial, and I'm going to hang up on you?
Possibly.
All right. Well, all right. So, wait, I got a note here. Wait a second. You want to talk about some documentary, The War in Gaza? Let me guess. It's very pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist, and it's designed to make me weep and cry for all the children, right?
It's called Born.
Something along those lines? Pretty much? Pretty much. Are you on the side of the, have you been to Gaza, by the way? Have you ever been there?
Have you?
Yes, I have, actually.
Okay. So I have friends that live in Gaza.
Jeff. Your friends who live in Gaza, do they support Hamas?
Hamas is an Israeli.
All right. Do they support Hamas? Are they part of the 68%?
They don't.
So they're in the minority that don't support the terrorists, because it's a very small minority that don't support the terrorists.
Yeah,
very small.
And we know this how.
It's very small. Anyway, where are you going to be when the ground invasion happens? You going to watch it?
I want to know if you've watched.
You going to watch it?
Born in Gaza.
I have not watched the movie. I haven't seen a movie since what's the hell the last movie I saw? Oppenheimer. Did you see that one? I left after the bomb went off. I left. I couldn't. The test bomb in New Mexico. Jeff, thanks for calling, but I really have no patience whatsoever for your point of view. Tom in New Jersey. Hello. He was right about that. He got no airtime. Hello, Tom.
Greg, I got to tell you, when I can listen in the daytime, I do. At nights, I always watch. My first thing is, God bless your father. Wish you were back. Number two, going to your last point, Palestine is not a country. Hamas is a client terrorist organization. I don't even want to hear about President Biden holding back Bibi. No, you got to do what you got to do. And these really bad things happen. And they've got to keep happening. They got to crush Hamas, crush Hezbollah, and then say to Iran, we're here. We're here now. What are you going to do? That's my stance on that.
Well, look, who the hell are the Bidens to be lecturing anybody about foreign policy? Now, you got to be a little bit careful, although you got to do smack them around. Hey, we smacked them around a little bit. I don't think you call it smacking them around. We lobbed a couple of bombs, missiles at a couple of Syrian terror groups that were harassing our guys over there. Not much. But one thing you don't want to do, I mean, maybe behind the scenes you want to do it, but you can't do it publicly. Do you remember when Bush said, my answer to them is bring it on. Bring it on. What's your message to the terrorists, sir? And he said, bring it on. Remember that?
There you go.
Yeah. Well, no. There you don't go. All right. Because, they brought it on and, we were in Iraq. We were in a quagmire. We were in such a hideous morass for a long time. And he made it worse with those silly fighting words. He was spoiling for a fight. We never should have been in that fight. So there's a time and a place for bring it on. And maybe we're there. Maybe we're there. I'm sick of Iran. For how long has it been? 1979. 1979. That's when they took our guys. 1979. And by the way, we have a role in that. We actually got rid of the democratically elected guy back in the 1950s. For whatever reason, the CIA was always sticking its nose into places it should not have been involved. If there was some really bad dude, but he said, I'll take money from you instead of the Soviet Union. We were like all in. We fell in love with him. What was his name? Razi, Pavlov, something like that. The Shah. And, we sided with that guy and got not much out of it, in my opinion. And, they ultimately deposed the Shah. If we had not installed the Shah, we might not be in the trouble we're in right now. Not that we're in trouble, but we could fix it. We could end it real soon. Anyway, Tom, what do you do for a living?
I'm retired, Greg.
Good for you. Retired as what?
I was a consultant, had a good career, financial. It was nice. My kids went to school and everything.
Excellent. Retirement. Yeah, must be, it sounds like you're enjoying it, right?
You know what, Greg? In a sense I am, but I see where the country is going. I see where it's going. And I am not going to be feeling so bad if I die before this is all over. But if Biden is there, we have a big problem.
Wait a second. You're not going to feel bad if you die. What?
And Biden is there, I'm not going to feel bad.
If you die?
I'm not going to feel bad if Biden is still there when I die.
You're not going to feel bad. You mean like, I don't get it.
Well, here's what I mean. This country is going really in a bad direction, a horrible direction.
So you're like happy
really
that you're about to die, you're going to die sooner rather than later, so you won't have to be around for it, right?
That's exactly right.
Oh, man, what kind of attitude is that? What about your kids? The kids you work so hard to send to school and their kids.
Greg, I got a daughter that gets it and a woke daughter. And this is just out there.
Well, listen, you got to kick ass. You got to do your thing. You got to do your part right up until the very last breath you got, in my opinion. And, you got to think about the follow-on generations. I plan to be around for another, 50, 70 years if my family has strict instructions to keep me alive at all costs. Tom, anyway, thank you very much. You lived a good life, but you got a lot of life left, so don't pack it in just yet.
Thank you so much.
All right, you bet. Hey, the National Rifle Association, good people. You would never know it. Boy, oh boy, the way they talk about these people on the TV. Listen to this guy. I couldn't believe it. Cut 27.
BT had a nice little dinner the other night with my new best
friend.
What
the hell
William
is this?
DeMeo.
It says like a commercial. No, cut 27. Cut 27. No, all right. You go back to the library. Anyway, there was this guy talking about the National Rifle Association, like it was some cult that kills children on purpose. And I was so offended by. Oh, here we go. Yeah, cut 27. All right, that 27.
The NRA is a gun-worshipping cult that sacrifices American children to the god of gun ownership. They are about as evil as anything that has ever happened in this country.
I mean, talk about Trump derangement syndrome, NRA derangement syndrome. And I looked at everything they do. The National Rifle Association. I'd be shocked if in the last year, I almost guarantee, well, this guy may have been an NRA member. Most murderers who use firearms, 99.9999999% of them are not in the NRA. The NRA is not about that. The NRA is about responsible gun ownership. Go to their website. They'll teach you how to shoot, how to aim, how to hit your target, and not how to hit the 1-year-old boy by accident in the backyard barbecue, as happens all too much. Give me one more of this nonsense. Cut 25.
You have a Congress, a House run by Republicans, who almost certainly will not take up any safety measure in the days ahead.
Let's work together to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines.
We don't have standards across this country to make it harder for people to access guns.
It's all so predictable. After every mass shooting, they all say the same thing, and nobody talks about real solutions. Real things that could help. And one of the big ones, the drugs that are all over the place. People are popping pills like never before, especially children. And we see that there seems to be a correlation between, well, the explosion of psychotropic drugs for children, adolescents, 20-somethings, and these mass shootings. We don't talk about that because the pharmaceutical companies are so big and powerful. They pay for all the commercials. They pay for all the advertising. Nobody wants to take them on. So you look for people, your own size. And then there is this, Joe Biden, he really does. He's getting stupider. Cut 26.
We have to fully implement the most significant gun safety law in nearly 30 years and then pass again the assault weapons ban, which Diane and I passed. No excuse. Who in God's name needs a weapon with 100 rounds in a chamber?
All right. There's no weapon in the world, I think, that's ever been created that has more than one round in the chamber. One round in the chamber, right? It's one round in the chamber. He doesn't know what he's talking about. The regular person on the regular street knows more about guns, especially anybody who owns a gun. Like my friend Jerry up in Michigan, this guy, he shut down Joe Biden. It was a beautiful thing. And Joe got so mad, started insulting him, started challenging him into a fight. It was so great. I mean, this guy who wears a hard hat, who's just a construction dude, knew more about weapons and also had more grace, more class, more savoir-faire than the President of the United States. Hey, is stupider a word? I like saying it. I think it's somehow, I feel like it's probably not a word, but somehow it does the job a bit more effectively. Let's see here. Let's do Mike in Wayne, yeah. No? All right, never mind. Andrew in Stanhope, hello.
Hey, how's it going? Just wanted to mention I was offended by Mike Johnson when he said his 14-year-old son, who's black, has a harder time or will have a harder time than his 14-year-old.
We're not talking about that right now. So what are you talking about right now?
Can I talk about that? Because I prepared for that. Well, but with the guns,
prepared for that? You did homework for that? I mean, now you got to introduce the whole thing again, all right? Look, don't pick apart what some guy said. You know, look, he adopted a black teenager. That's to be commended, all right? He adopted a 14-year-old black child. He happens to be white, all right? And I understand what you're getting at. I know about the comments. Just cut him some slack, all right? So 6 years ago, he didn't say the perfect thing. He didn't say something that you agree with 6 years ago. Just let it go, all right? He did an amazing thing. He adopted a black child. It's an amazing thing to adopt a white child. Adoption's an amazing thing. Choose life, all right? I don't want to nitpick what he said in some podcast 17 years ago. I just don't want to do that. So don't do that, please.
And I'll change topics. Everything that left does turns to crap. Like with more gun control, I would be for it, but does their policies ever work in any way? Like, name one of their policies that works. The teachers union, did that make the schools better? You know, their big government programs broke up the family. So what actually works that the left implemented?
I hear you, Andrew. All that stuff makes a lot of sense to me. Thank you very much. When are you getting back into the TV game? He used to work in television news, actually, this guy, for a long time. All right, we'll follow up with that and give me one moment.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Anti-Semitic attacks and hate speech up 388%. According to the Anti-Defamation League, 388%. And they're in total denial. The White House and the media refuses to acknowledge this. Yet they pretend that white supremacy is taking over the country. I see this Trey Yingst guy. He keeps telling me it's really intense wherever he is, but he's always just standing there, except when he's diving for cover. You can't win with me, Bob Brown. I mean, he's either doing too much or not doing enough. Maybe I'm too tough. Maybe I'm being a jerk.
Well, it sounds like, from your point of view, he's not doing enough.
I mean, I don't know.
And we're talking about Biden, of course.
No, I'm talking about that.
Talking about?
I'm talking about that correspondent on TV right there.
Oh, okay. I thought you're watching the war, and I'm watching the war. I didn't know you were talking. I just walked in, so I didn't know you were talking.
So he's covering the war in Gaza, right? We're about to see a ground invasion, and he's on. I'm surprised they don't have more people over there. And I
I think the opposite. No.
What do you mean?
I think I see a lot of people over there. No.
Not on Fox.
I think Erin Burnett's been there for like 2 weeks.
I'm talking about Fox, Erin Burnett. But she is an outright.
No, I don't know.
She is an outright.
Wait a minute. Before we do that,
Erin Burnett. Erin Burnett is a total and complete liar. An unbelievable. I can't believe that she is actually CNN, the least trusted name in news. Don't forget that. They are awful. And they are totally pro-terrorist. Totally. In my opinion.
But just going back to the point of the original question, it just seems to me I notice on TV and all the channels that a lot of people seem to be over there. No?
I mean, a lot of people, I mean, they come and go. No? Right now on Fox, it's just this guy all the time, it seems like. I guess they have some morning guy. I don't know. This is not. No,
it seems like the hosts are going over now. It's not just the correspondents. What's this guy over here on CNN next to Anderson Cooper? He's Jake Tapper. Is that his name?
Yeah.
So they're sending now the anchors there too with the correspondents. I'm noticing that's a little bit different.
Yeah, they're in Tel Aviv, which is relatively safe. I mean, it's not, and they're not embedding. I don't think they're going to go in for the ground invasion as well. You can be in Israel. My in-laws were actually in Israel on October 7th, when it all went down. Mm-hmm. They left a couple of days later on a regularly scheduled flight. So, you can actually go around and do your groceries and stuff like that. Right. Although I think they all school is called off.
Well, you've talked to Noam.
Actually, not in a while.
Yeah, no, his brother lives in Haifa. His dad had been visiting here for a while. He finally got a flight back a couple of days ago. And, but he talks to his brother again, and he asks and his brother says, well, you just go to work. And, it's like almost like a normal day. Now he's away from the fighting. He's away from the action. It's the northern part of Israel. So, it depends who you talk to and where they are, I guess.
Well, what's going on locally that we should know about?
I think what you said originally when I walked in, just the anti-Semitic incidents are just on the rise here in New York.
Are you Jewish, by the way?
Half. My father was Jewish.
Huh.
My mother's Sicilian-Italian.
And how were you brought up?
Catholic.
What did your dad have to say about that?
He was cool. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a little story. Excuse me here. When they got married, just had lunch. My mother asked him, well, what would you want to raise the kids? How would you want the kids? And my father was a lot older than my mom. Came from a different generation. He came from the Depression and all that really, hard times.
Right.
He was an adult in the Depression, not even just a kid.
How old's, my God?
16 years older than my mother.
Uh-huh.
Which is not a heck of a lot, but still. But anyway, she said, what would you prefer? And my father said, his answer was, you know what? Raise them Catholic because it will be a hell of a lot easier on them in life. He came from a different generation, though. There was anti-Semitism against Jews back in those days. It was hard to get a job back in those days being Jewish. That's why so many Jews changed their names. So when they were applying for work or applying for housing, they took the steen off the gold or whatever. It was a whole different world back then with Jews.
Yeah.
Gosh. So, it wasn't easy. It was a lot of anti-Semitism, a lot of discrimination against Jews in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Still is today. Nothing's changed, but that was his answer.
It changed. I thought it changed, and then I've like cold water in the face. It's everywhere. It's so deeply embedded, and it's disgusting. And after, I thought we were more enlightened. I thought people were more enlightened. This is, never again. I remember learning that in the 70s, never again. And, that turned out to just be a phrase.
And what's different too is the anti-Israeli protests are taking place here in New York. You would never see that in the 70s or the 80s. Never. It's a whole different ballgame.
You wouldn't see that in the 70s or the 80s?
I never saw an anti-Israeli protest in the 70s or in the 80s. In New York? No.
But you see it now.
You see it now. It's a different world.
What happened? What's the difference? Why now?
Because people have immigrated to the city, New York, from all over the world, from the Mideast, Palestinian populations, so many sects of the Muslim population have moved here, Asian Americans, everyone. So now there's a population of the Palestinians, right? There are a Palestinian population right now in the U.S. and here in New York. So I guess, the Palestinian people have something to say, and you have to respect that, I guess.
No? Look, you can have any political viewpoint you want. The moment you link up with terrorists and start supporting terrorists, that's a big problem. And
unfortunately, though, I mean, it's hard to see the other side of the picture. But Palestinians. Many Palestinians are not terrorists.
Yeah, I know.
I'm talking people who live here.
I'm talking sure, but I have to tell you the sympathies that I've seen expressed and ripping down of those photos of the hostages, and I've seen the Israeli flag desecrated. This is.
Oh no, I'm not. I am not condoning that one iota. It's terrible. It's awful. It's awful.
Well, it seems like a strange new world.
It's a new world. It's a totally different world. And I said I've never seen this before. You would never have seen this 20, 30, 30 years ago, 40 years ago in the city. Never.
Well, it's awful, and we may have a great big fight on our hands, and we're going to win.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Poor George Santos, the Republican from Long Island. I like him. I'm actually kind of friendly with him. I know he's probably lied about this, that, and the other thing. He's confessed to some. One thing he told me, I think it was on this show, he lied about going to college. I said, well, why'd you do that? He said, well, I wouldn't have got the nomination if I didn't tell them I went to college. He may have screwed over some people in business. We don't know. He's been charged with all kinds of things, fraud. He just had to enter another plea, not guilty. George Santos pleads not guilty. He is surrounded. I see him walking down the hall. He is surrounded by about 75 members of the press. I mean, it's almost like he's a head of state. I mean, from a small country, because you can't get that close to a president. But there's the media fascination with this guy, and I understand it to some degree. Yet, a far more significant story, because we don't know really what the hell George Santos did or didn't do. What's the truth and what's not? We don't. We hear the allegations. We read the New York Times. You know, we know he told some fibs. I read about an ex-boyfriend who's all upset. I don't know this person. I don't know. I've never seen him. I'm reading about him. I don't know. Did George steal $10,000 from him? I don't know. I mean, this is what this guy's alleging. I don't know. I do know that Jamal Bowman, that crazy congressman from the Bronx, I know he pulled the fire alarm. We have the proof. It's right here. He pulled a fire alarm. Now, you can be arrested for that. And he's actually admitting it. He's admitting it. And the funny thing is, though, he gets off easy by admitting that. He's not admitting to obstructing Congress, which they're throwing January 6 people in for a decade. So here's Jamal Bowman. This guy must be expelled, must be censured, give him detention or something, right? Jamal Bowman trying to explain his way out of this. Go ahead.
Mr. What do you say to folks who say it's just not believable that you would think a red fire alarm was an exit? How could you possibly get that mixed up?
Yeah, it's all good. They could have their opinion, but I know I was in a rush to get to my vote, and I tried the door, it didn't work, so I pulled the alarm thinking it would open. That didn't work, so I went downstairs. It was a dumb choice, but, it is what it is. I take full responsibility for it, and now trying to move on, just do my job. Not trying to disrupt any official government proceedings. So I'm glad, the investigation found that was the case.
Why would you think a fire alarm would get you out of the door?
Listen, I tried the door. It says it's emergency exit. You push on it, it would open. I tried that. It didn't work. And I tried the alarm to jar the door. I've done that in other places, and it worked. It just didn't work this time.
A lawmaker from New York is expected to plead guilty after being charged with falsely pulling the fire alarm at a congressional office building.
Listen, at the end of the day, I wasn't trying to prevent a vote or shut down the government or do anything. It was a bad decision. It was a mistake. Took responsibility for it. I don't know why it's gotten this much attention. We got to focus on doing our job. That's the most important thing.
It actually hasn't gotten enough attention. You heard that was like Cheddar News Nightly. It doesn't make the nightly news. It doesn't make the world news tonight with Pretty Boy David Pretty Boy Muir. It doesn't make the big shows. It makes the little shows. That guy is a threat. What if there was a real fire? He was in the Congress. What if the Senate was on fire and all the fire trucks went to the wrong place? That's what they told us in school. If you pulled one of those things in school, you would be expelled automatically. Automatically. You'd get in major trouble. It's a congressman that is so punishable. But they won't even cover it adequately. That is something else. Jamal Bowman. Let's see if we can talk to him. All right, let's get him on the phone. He's a local area congressman. We talk to them from time to time. And I think we all deserve an explanation. Yes. Senator Susan Collins is talking about this guy on the loose up there. I worry about her health sometimes, but look, she's on the right side here. She sounds a little shaky, but she's good, and this is the worst thing that happened up there in Maine. And this is Senator Susan Collins, a Republican in name only, but she's doing good right now, and we're pulling for her and all the people up there. Cut 9.
This heinous attack, which has robbed the lives of at least 18 Mainers and injured so many more, is the worst mass shooting that the state of Maine has ever experienced.
Wow. Did they call Maine Mainers? Did you hear that? They call them Mainers? New Yorkers, I understand. I never heard that before. Rick in Mount Vernon, hello.
You're saying that he didn't reach out to them. That's what they called him.
I hear you. I know, me too. Watch that language. Viviana in Brooklyn, hello.
Hey, Greg, thank you for taking my call. Bowman, I'm from the Bronx. Bowman should be expelled, and that's all I'll say about that. I am calling because I feel that the mayor is being irresponsible in having all of these pro-Hamas rallies, because it looks like the same group is just going from 42nd Street to Brooklyn. Now they're going to go down Eastern Parkway tomorrow, Greg, on the Shabbat for the Jewish people in their area. And then they allow the people that come to these rallies to throw rocks, throw eggs, and to spit on our finest. The mayor is being irresponsible. I don't care. He's allowing people that want they want to frustrate and inflame the situation to continue to rally from different places in New York. What do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. I think he's facilitating all this stuff. And it started with de Blasio. You know, if you wanted to protest something, you show up in front of a building, you know, you protest on the sidewalk. Maybe you go to a park. Maybe you go to City Hall. Maybe you go downtown to, the federal building and you protest in front of it. Under de Blasio, they just let you take over things. They let you take over things. Like, yeah, you can take over the damn whole bridge. You can take over this. You can take over that. I think we need to push back a little bit, not facilitate it. They shut down 3rd Avenue the other night. Shut it down. And it looked like the police weren't trying to prevent it. They were like facilitating. Yeah, this is freedom of speech. We have to do it. This is orders from the mayor. No, you don't. Freedom of speech doesn't mean you can block my freedom of movement. You can speak on the sidewalk. Speak on the sidewalk. Whatever happened to that? They are shutting down. I remember de Blasio when he, and Bratton for that matter, allowed a bunch of maniacs who were upset. What were they upset about? I can't remember. Oh, Danielle Pantaleo and Eric Garner, right? They shut down the FDR. They shut down the Brooklyn Bridge. They shut down the Manhattan Bridge. I'm like, what? Hello? Safety? Order? So I think you're 1,000% right, Viviana. Are you Jewish, by the way?
More comment?
Yeah, sure. Are you Jewish?
I am very small percentage of Jewish.
All right.
I'm a Christian, and I do value our Jewish brothers and sisters. I wanted to make another comment. We have an opportunity to get out all of these city council people, go early voting. The majority of them did a vote to reduce the indemnity of the police and also defund the police. Let's get them back that way too, Greg.
Yeah, I know. That's an uphill fight. I have no idea who my councilman is. Who's your councilman?
Mine, he's doing really good. He's in Staten Island, and he's a Republican, and he's doing well. Right now, I'm just a little nervous. I don't remember his name.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Carr.
These people, I don't know. I know. It's unbelievable how the Democrats have such a stranglehold on this city. How many Republicans are there in the city council? Right, 4, 5. It's way too small. We need more. This is one party. This is like communist rule, Viviana. And I can't stand that. It shouldn't be like that. Thank you very much. You know what I mean, Adam? This is one party. I know you're probably in that party. You're always calling up with a different point of view, and that's fine. But I think we need more give and take here in the city. One party. That's like Russia. That's like the Soviet Union. One party. Like China. One party. What's up?
Well, you can't say, you're pro-police and then you don't want the FBI. You want to defund the FBI and all that. Republicans do that. They don't want the FBI to be investigating Trump. They want Trump to get over for his crimes.
Oh, Jesus.
But they want to march him
Hey,
out.
Adam, you know what, Adam? Now you used to be somewhat interesting when you called with your complaint. Now, this is very lazy of you, right? I mean, this is just, come on. You got to do better. You got to help me out here, right? Come on. This is, you can do better than that. All right. Adam. Gosh. You disappoint me, Adam. I give you all kinds of courtesy, this, that, and the other thing, and then you try that. You try that. All right. You got one more chance. What else? What?
Show. I'm listening to your show.
No, Adam, first of all, we haven't talked about the FBI today, however, we should defund them. They need to be totally rebranded, thrown out. Adam, there is such a thing as the deep state. I mean, I know what you're trying to do, that the left, oh, look at this, you're undermining law. No, we're not. These people, they colluded with the Democrat Party, with Hillary Clinton, to prevent Trump from being elected in 2016. They did it. We have the proof. We have the text messages. We have it. We've seen it all. And they can still walk around. They laugh at us. And you call in defending all that stuff. I get it. You're a victim of the mainstream media, and they are everywhere. If you sit around and listen to them, when you drive your bus, they're everywhere. If you don't make a proactive step, take a proactive step to hear something else, to actually read the primary source documents. You know what you should do? Read the indictment of Trump. Read the indictment. Forget the Real Housewives. Forget Dancing with the Stars. Not you, Adam, but forget all that stuff, those distractions. Read the indictment and then send a check to Trump. Or get on social media, or write a letter to Jack Smith at the Justice Department. They're taking our country, and they just might. But at the end of the day, we have to do something. And if it's just write a letter, give some money, we're not asking you to camp out all night like the Patriots during the Revolution. Just a little something. All right, we gotta help. Diego, what can we do? Money? What can we do? We can give money. We can post on social media. We can write letters. We can call these guys on the phone. Is there anything else? I feel like they seem inadequate, although they're better than it sounds, actually. That's a lot. That's democracy right there. What else?
Fundraising event?
What?
Of some sort? Fundraising event?
Hold an event. Get with Barbara. Barbara's always out there doing something. We got to move the needle in the real world. I can't just watch this stuff on TV and watch it unfold and watch our country go down the tubes. And they're fooling good people like Adam. I'll be right back.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We think that guy in Maine was really out of his head, or was he just full of hate? They say he was hearing voices. The voices told him to do it. I for a long time, I really did not care about the gun issue. It wasn't my issue. I got to shoot guns in the Marine Corps. I was okay with guns. I didn't feel like I needed the gun in my regular life. But now more than ever, my gosh, the Second Amendment, I have had an awakening for a couple of reasons. Yes, it is in part to keep the government in check. This is we, the citizens, they won't mess with us if we're well armed. Now, there's nothing right now that they can do, but if they go further with this absorption of power, the constant seeking of more and more power, more and more authority, it scares me. And our great founding fathers, they anticipated that, and that's why we have the Second Amendment, in addition to just being able to protect ourselves for our physical safety, our property. And, you look at the response time for these with the cops. I mean, it doesn't matter if they get there in 2 minutes, 7 minutes, 90 seconds. So much damage can be done while you're sitting around waiting for the cops. And yeah, if you engage one of these mass shooters, you might hit the wrong person. You might make a mistake. We'd rather be sued than be dead. Tom on Long Island. Hello.
Hey, Greg. How are you? So, our legislators think by creating more laws and more controls and taking our guns away, it's going to solve the problem. We have plenty of those things in place. How about we start enforcing the laws? Here in New York, it's not uncommon for someone to be caught with a gun. Instead of getting a mandatory 1-year sentence, they plea bargain it down to something, to a misdemeanor, let them go. And a good example is a teenager was caught with fourth time having guns in the Bronx a couple of years ago. And the judge sentenced him to write an essay why guns are bad for your community. How does that teach people that it's wrong to have guns? And if we get the proliferation of guns out of the bad people's hands, maybe we'll have less gun violence going on in our community.
I don't know, man. Look, sometimes the gun laws in New York are a little bit over the top. Do you remember when Plaxico Burress had that gun and he shot himself in the leg by accident? He shot himself in the leg and he went to jail for a year. He actually went to jail, the Plaxico Burress from the Jets. Now, that very same weekend, Vice President Dick Cheney shot a guy in the face with a shotgun. He shot a guy in the face, and he doesn't get arrested. He goes right back to being Vice President of the United States. I still can't fathom that. He accidentally shot himself, Plaxico, in the leg, and he goes to jail for a year. Dick Cheney shoots a guy in the face, and nothing happens to him. It's just mind-blowing. It really is weird. I'm all about legal gun ownership. Legal. It's got to be legal. However, in New York, they've made it, quite frankly, way too tough. And that dimwit Governor Hochul, right? You can't have one. They came up with a bunch of regulations. Okay, we'll make it easy for you to get a gun, but you can't bring it to Times Square. You can't bring it to any kind of public venue. You can't bring it to any kind of entertainment. You can't bring it anywhere where there just might be a mass shooting. But, Tom, I know you've thought about this issue before. Thank you. Steve in Brooklyn. Well, if you're going to be like that, we won't put you on the air. Mike in Bayside.
Hi. I voted for Santos twice now. I don't want to lose his vote in the House of Representatives because he's voting right. In the meantime, Bowman, he pulled that fire alarm. He cleared out 435 representatives who were going to vote on extremely important issues. The Newsmax TV station just reported that fact. Why hasn't anybody in the media shown all of the House of Representatives exiting the chambers that day?
All right, thank you. I don't know if they did, actually. I don't know if they did. I'll be back on that.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Nobody told us. We have more than few thousand people who signed a signature here who said no. We said no.
Tensions escalate on the southwest side as the city gets closer to housing at least 2,000 migrants at a base camp in Brighton Park. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Scott Schneider.
And I'm Dawn Hasbrook. That encampment is slated for a vacant lot at 38th and California, but a meeting tonight grew heated when residents divided on the plan. Casey Cronin is live from Kelly High School with the latest.
This is in Chicago.
Hey, Don and Scott. Well, residents say they only found out about the plan when they saw construction crews working at the site. Tonight, they were calling for transparency, but it's something many of them feel they didn't get when the meeting reached capacity and they weren't allowed in. We could even hear the pounding on the doors from inside.
Yeah!
A line down the block shows just how much residents wanted in on the conversation. But a full auditorium meant the crowd stuck outside never got a seat at the table.
Good stuff, huh? This is Chicago, and they are as fired up as we are here. Staten Island, throughout the city. I mean, please, just come here legally. Don't come here and steal all of our stuff or get freebies. Too bad, you know. June of 2021, selected a bum to be the mayor because nobody really selected. Nobody was available. Everybody was checked out. That's just the way they want it. That's just the way they want us all checked out thinking about other stuff. Hey, here's a great guy with an idea. cut the salary of everybody from the cabinet secretaries to the president of the United States. Check this out. Yeah.
For Norman, and a member opposed. Each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from South Carolina.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My amendment cuts the salary of the Secretary of the Department of Energy, Jennifer Granholm, to $1. The job that she has done is far below standard by any measure. She testified and promoted a company in Greenville, my state, not in my district, but my state, that she was a former board member on, and requested funds from the American taxpayer. And I've learned now with bureaucrats who make wrong decisions, the only way you deal with them is cut their salary. And I would recommend that her salary be cut to $1.
Well done, sir. Well done. Unfortunately, this has no chance of actually happening. It'd have to get out of the House, which it could, but then it would have to go to the Senate, and it actually have to be signed into law. They can't do this. They just can't do this on their own. And it's a shame. Why would anybody want to be a member of Congress, actually? What a pain in the neck job. You only get it for 2 years. You constantly have to raise money. You constantly have to look over your shoulder. Somebody else wants that job desperately, researching you, going through your garbage cans, trying to find out dirt about you, and then putting it on TV. Can you imagine somebody raising money so they could do commercials about you that were negative, right? Hey, you heard about that guy who tried to shut down the engines on the Alaska air flight? Well, everyone who knows him says he's a great guy, and they can't believe what happened, although they do say he was depressed. The wife of the off-duty Alaska Airlines pilot accused of trying to crash a plane after taking magic mushrooms has insisted he never would have knowingly tried to harm anyone on the flight. From the Post, Sarah Stretch supported her husband, Joseph Emerson, that's her name, Stretch, who's 44, on Thursday for his first appearance in federal court in Portland, Oregon, where he pleaded not guilty and waived his right to a preliminary hearing. This is not my Joe. This is not the Joe anybody knows, Stretch said of her pilot husband, whose charges include 83 counts of attempted murder. This is not the man that I married, she told reporters at his appearance. I don't know how to explain it, but it wasn't him. She tearfully said that her husband was struggling with depression, but never would have knowingly done any of that. That's not the man that all these people in this world are coming together to support. I love him. Several other family members accompanied the accused rogue aviator, including his parents and father-in-law, the news outlet reported. Emerson, wearing blue scrubs, turned toward his family and whispered, I love you, when he was brought into the courtroom. A relative reached toward him to do a fist bump in the air. He has been charged with interfering with flight crew members and attendants and faces dozens of state charges in Oregon, including 83 felony counts of attempted murder. This is a complete shock to everyone, his lawyer said, adding that the client, the actual guy who tried to do this, wanted to thank the pilots for their timely and heroic actions and the flight attendants for their kindness. He actually also tried to open up the door. He tried to get out of the plane in mid-flight. Man, talk about problems. Carlotta in Rhode Island, hello.
Hi. Here's my thing. How can a man without a heart be heartbroken? So when Bo died, Biden didn't run because he was heartbroken. But now we see that there were 40 FBI investigations into him at the time. And I think he just knew he wouldn't have time to close them up in 2016. So now we have the 40 people. We have it come out that there were these investigations, and he took care of them or tried to, and he ran in 2020.
Yeah, so he's no heart. Is that it? No heart Joe. He is a weird guy. I gotta assume he loves his family, but then again, he really abused and kind of exploited Hunter. I've heard Rudy told me. I mean, this guy knew he was a drug addict. Joe Biden knew his son was suffering from addiction, yet sending him all over the world. It's like the last thing he should be doing. He should have had a regular humdrum job in Delaware instead of running around the world making money for his father. Don't you think, Carlotta?
Well, yes, and I think that Biden put his ambition and greed before his son's welfare. He's thinking, oh, I've got this covered. It'll never come out. And, and I wish Hunter Biden, he lives to 150 years, but he's going through a lot, and he's not a strong person.
No, they are one lost family. It's sad. And it's the first family. How did this happen? How did this happen? A great country like, I think I told you before, I remember where I was, 1987, South Street Seaport, with my dad. Joe Biden had just been caught in a whole mess of lies. And we were both astonished, shaking our heads. How could some person, a United States senator, actually be that stupid? Carlotta, how are things in Rhode Island? Haven't heard from you in a while.
They're fine, but I want to tell you one more thing. In Alec Marlowe's book, Breaking Biden,
yeah,
he sums it all up. He said, when you envision Joe Biden falling up the stairs, he has failed upward his whole life.
You mean when he actually, yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting way to put it. Failed upward. Yeah. He got lucky when he was 29. This is on you, Delaware. It's smaller than Suffolk County. Thank you, Carlotta. It really is incredible. Look, I don't like the phrase white privilege, but talk about white privilege. Back then, all you needed was some white skin and a great big smile. And look at Joe. He got himself to the United States Senate. It is insane. Steve in Westchester, hello.
Hey, Greg, it's a pleasure to talk to you. What I don't understand is how come we didn't have this gun problem 3 years ago? And one of the things that I think that's driving it is...
Well, what do you mean? Wait. Which gun problem?
The guns that are just all over the streets in New York City and throughout the Northeast. And I put my finger on the illegals that show up here on buses. Nobody checks the duffel bags. These people get on buses, and the coyotes give them handguns, and when they come up here, they sell them for $1,500.
Before the immigration crisis, we had a real big problem with de Blasio lying about the NYPD, complaining that it was so racist and that he was going to come and fix it. Like I've said before, first he pretended the NYPD was broken, then he pretended to fix what wasn't broken, and then he actually managed to break it. And proactive policing and all this stuff that, even before the immigrant crisis, we had a big problem with guns. Started really as soon as he came into office, 2014. You can go back and look. Shootings went up. And then they played a lot of games with the numbers. But this started under de Blasio. It starts at the top. The illegal migrants aren't helping the matter at all. And we don't know who's coming in here. Could even be worse than guns. I mean, we're talking bombs. We're talking dirty nuclear bombs. Watch out. The sky's the limit. It's totally unchecked. Our enemies, China, the government, they see this. Talk to Gordon Chang and all these military-age men coming from China through Mexico. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
I'm glad I called in. Thanks.
You got it. You got it. Later. There seems to be rumblings that there's going to be an invasion tonight. The ground invasion could happen tonight. There's a lot going on there right now. The Israeli Defense Force reporting that ground operations in Gaza are expanding, that they're expanding right now. Okay, that's fine. But what does that actually mean? Does that mean, I don't know what that means. That's kind of like vague on purpose, perhaps. Slightly vague on purpose. They do that. They do all kinds of interesting things when it comes time to announce to the public what's going on. I remember once I was actually in Washington, D.C., and they talked about the troops had crossed the line of departure for the assault on Fallujah. And everybody in the media thought, okay, the invasion must be on. And I'm like, that is a very strange thing to say. Why did they say that? And I still don't know why they said it, but I knew it wasn't the invasion. They weren't invading Fallujah. Something else is going on, but we have crossed the line of departure. They choose their words. It's called information operations. Information operations. It's a military art, and it's been around for a long time. You know what I miss? I miss the movies. There's not one good movie to go to, right? Is there a new movie? Nobody talks about any movie. The only movie anyone ever talked about in the past 2 years was that Barbie movie and the Oppenheim movie. There's no other movie, right? There's no other movie. There's no new movies coming out. It's all this stuff on Netflix. I hate reality TV. I hate, what's his name? Randy Cohen. Who's that guy who gave us Bravo TV? Randy Cohen, David Cohen. Who is he? Andy Cohen. Him. Yes. Man, more than anybody else, with the possible exception of Kim Kardashian, they really have done such damage to America. Andy, this is on you. I'll be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, Rudy Giuliani just walked in. How are you, sir?
I'm good, but upset.
Why?
Because I think that the strike backs that we did yesterday, that Austin did, were an encouragement to the strikes by Iran today. You should have learned from way back during Clinton. Don't hit back if you're not going to hit them back in a way that says, you better not do it again. If you hit them back and you hit an empty field, you don't go after personnel. You just go after armaments. You're sending a signal to the Ayatollah. I'm afraid of you. Well, he hit us again today. Did no good. So we're going to have to do it again. How about we start hitting their personnel like they're hitting our personnel? They've injured 24 of our people. I bet it's more. They killed one of our contractors. They don't tell us that. They hide it. It's hidden. Undercover. They killed one of our contractors. The guy was running for shelter. When the bombing took place, he died.
They said,
that's
an
American casualty.
Heart attack, right?
Yeah, heart attack while he's running from a bomb.
Now, there is a time and a place. I mean, look, I think people forget, they hit us in January of 2020. Iran hit the same outposts. I don't think we counterattacked in any real aggressive way. This is this was their response, I think, to our taking out Soleimani. Anyway, I understand you want to kind of keep it contained at the same time.
Soleimani was a response to one of their attacks on us. We hit them. They hit us. We hit them once. They hit us again, and then we took out Soleimani and a lot of his people.
And prevented a lot of attacks.
Well, you're damn right we did. We took out a lot at that point. Or when he hit Syria, he ended it. He hit it one time, and that was it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a little bit of a modified, I hate to say it, Powell doctrine. If you're going to hit him hard. And hit him with the point that you're not going to hit you. I mean, gosh almighty, if you attack John Gotti, he wouldn't come back and shoot it at an empty warehouse.
Hey, there was a rumor going around yesterday that Mark Meadows, former chief of staff, wore a wire and recorded Donald Trump in conversations. Turned out it was totally bogus, but I am kind of wondering what the hell.
You and I both said that yesterday, by the way. I remind you, I was on your show yesterday, and we both concluded without knowing a damn thing that it was.
It had to be bogus. It had to be bogus.
I know Mark. I know his character, and I'm wrong sometimes, rarely.
So, all right. So it's not that. But what is going on with Meadows anyway? I don't feel like I don't know. Something's up there.
Well, I seriously doubt that Mark is not going to tell the truth. And I am absolutely confident that neither one of them committed a crime. So maybe they're going to twist something. Maybe they're going to play around with something. And they change the meaning of things. But I don't think it's a serious problem for the president. Now, the things I was involved with Mark, I'd be happy to have him testify about them. He can talk about them all he wants. We didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. I was his lawyer. I explored possibilities in ways to expand his cause, which was what I was supposed to do as his lawyer. What was I supposed to do? Go work for the other side?
It's amazing. You got the whole world on your shoulders, and you got a great attitude. You got a spring in your step. It looks like to me, right?
Well, every once in a while you get down a little, but then you look in the mirror, you say a prayer, and I don't think I'm fooling myself. I believe I'm doing the right thing. I haven't lied. They accuse me of it all the time. I went through a hearing in the last couple of weeks. I was called a liar, a racist, a xenophobe. I don't know what else I was. And my feeling is they were.
Right.
I felt like I'm sitting here with them. And I can't understand it. They're calling lies arguments over the interpretation of what a word means.
Yeah. All right. Well, you are going to prevail. I know it. And I am hearing even Joe Biden realizes they're actually acknowledging that Donald Trump is the number one contender for the presidency.
So now what do they do to him?
What would they do? Have you heard anything?
No, but I had the same feeling last time, and at about this time, at about this time 4 years ago, Trump. He never looked perfect, but he looked like if the election could be held today, boy, this guy'd be president by 10 points. And then all of a sudden, here comes the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel very good about it. Let's put it that way.
You do.
But I'm not sure I want to feel good about it. I'd like to have the election right now. Let's put it that way.
What's the thing with Tish James and that old story? What's going on there?
I think that's evaporating too. That judge is like kind of soured that case by acting like a clown judge.
Yeah.
Yeah. 18. I mean, you can't overcome the 18 million for Mar-a-Lago.
So
you can't overcome it. You're a clown.
So he'll appeal. I mean, I just, and I'm worried about Jack Smith too. What about that? What about even the commentator? The commentator's a conservative commentator. Well, that is actually a serious case. The one about the documents. I don't buy it, but
is that the first one he's trying? I've forgotten. Is that the first one he's trying, or the one where
first
Mark
one he was indicted for?
Oh, because he had some documents that he misplaced, or I don't. If it weren't, I worry about it only because it's a Washington jury. I think that case tried before any group of neutral Americans, the case gets laughed out of court. He moved documents around Mar-a-Lago. He moved them around Mar-a-Lago, which is about as safe. Believe me, it's as safe as any of the government facilities where they're stealing documents left and right.
And if you fight them, right, it's obstruction.
Oh yeah, if you say, do you believe the election was stolen? Yes. Go to jail.
No, I mean, come on. But it does put you in a different category. It
well,
does.
We'll put you on Fox.
Tom in the Bronx. Hello.
I'm talking to two giants.
Goodbye, Tom. I can't stand this Tom guy. He's always making up a new name. That's not him. He starts with a great big flattery, and then he starts talking about Pat Buchanan. You knew Pat Buchanan a little bit, right?
Very well, actually, and had a good friendship with him and a big dispute with him.
What happened?
The big dispute was over a Nazi war criminal. Mykovsky's was convicted in absentia in the Soviet Union of being a commandant commander, a camp commander, actually. Killed about 12,000 people. Yeah. And Buchanan objected to sending him back to the Soviet Union because he had been tried in absentia and said, we cannot credit, the Soviet system. And therefore we can't send him back to the Soviet Union. Congress had passed a law saying we can ignore that. And Ronald Reagan made the decision that we had to go forward with it. So I had to argue that in court, handle that for two years. And Buchanan went after me pretty badly about that. And we finally won, and we got him extradited. And the Soviets then decided to give him another trial. Had the Soviets decided to give him another trial, we could have got rid of him right away. But then he died in Soviet custody.
Hey, no bigger Yankee fan than you. The Yankees lost something, like just the whole thing. Baseball, forget about the players, forget about
too many years now. Too many years.
What do you mean?
Too many years away from a championship, right?
Yeah.
Maybe one of the longest that we've gone without a championship. I'd have to look back to the 60s.
It's not as central as it used to be, though. It's not as relevant.
09 was our last championship.
Wow, 09. My God.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah. All that money, too, huh?
And teams that could have won. Teams you had a feeling could have won. It didn't.
We miss
George
Steinbrenner, the one of the family. I don't know. Hey, thank you, sir.